News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Kunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Kunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin. Brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime no-fear powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. So right now, it's March Madness over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. Stop by the dealership and check out all the extreme specials this weekend, heading into the final weekend of March. Now is the time to buy a new vehicle. I welcome you into episode 228 of On the Mark here on this Saturday, March 23rd. Thank you so much for making me a part of your morning as we are broadcasting live and local from our KHMO studios here in the heart of Quincy, Illinois. You can always follow me on Twitter/X, on Instagram at Mark Hespin. Follow the YouTube channel at Mark Hespin on YouTube. And then, of course, follow along with the show On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. One of the rare shows I don't actually start Hespin headline number one with NFL, but it is March Madness. So let's waste no time. Let's jump into it. Hespin headline number one, and then there were 32.
Hespin's headlines On the Mark.
We're down to 32 teams left in the NCAA men's bracket in the March Madness tournament. And a tournament so far, to me, that is defined by two unique storylines. So March Madness is this phenomenon in the sports calendar, right? It is the one thing that can capture people where they really have no idea of anything else that has gone on in the sport, and then they completely lock in. There's nothing else like March Madness. You could argue, well, Mark, isn't the Masters, big golf tournament kind of like this? Kinda. People don't really pay attention to regular season golf, and then they turn into the big tournament, right? The difference would be that you don't get middle school kids filling out, the Masters brackets and things like this. And people, at the water cooler, on Thursday aren't talking about, hey, man, all right, I got an upset. I'm going with Hideki Matsuyama to win the Masters this year. It's not talked about at all in culture the way that March Madness is. March Madness is this unique being. And one of the reasons that why March Madness is so unique is because of the David versus Goliath, right? It is upsets. It is chaos. We love to see the brackets get busted. By the end of, the middle of day two yesterday, I think ESPN was tweeting out like 0.0006% of the brackets remain perfect. That's what we love. We love the chaos of it all. And you can get behind it. And anyone can win. It's like the lottery, right? You just fill out a bracket. It's like going to the gas station tonight to buy a Powerball ticket, which I hear it's up to like 800 million or something like that. So we should all buy a Powerball ticket too. But that's what we love it. So the tournament is built on storylines like that. What I think is so unique so far about this year's tournament is we really are clinging to one story that carries the water of the mega upsets, and that's Kentucky losing to Oakland. The one seeds so far, all dominant. UConn, UNC, Purdue, and Houston all handled their opponents. The two seeds, there were some close calls. Iowa State was tight early, right? Marquette was in a battle at half. Tennessee looked a little shaky in the first half, but they all eventually came around, and the two seeds blew out their opponents as well. And then you look at the three seeds, for the most part, handled business except for Kentucky. And all the 4 seeds handled business except for Auburn. So you look at Auburn and Kentucky as the upsets, the crazy upsets of the first 2 days of March Madness, the first round. And I would argue that Auburn, a little bit of an upset. A lot of people had Auburn. Their good Ken Pom rating had Auburn going farther. And Kentucky, obviously, we've seen this story before. In the modern age of college basketball, Coach Cal's Kentucky teams are not equipped to win in a hyper-pressurized tournament with the best of the best teams. Coach Cal's guys on a Tuesday night in January, when you have no time to prep and you're Vanderbilt and they come rolling in here with 5 dudes who are going to play in the NBA, you got no chance. But when you have time to prep, as Oakland did a couple days, when you have a really solid team, that if you're a team that makes the March Madness tournament, either you were really, really great throughout the regular season or you're one of the hottest teams in the country because you just won your conference tournament. And for a lot of the small schools, you're talking about guys like Golke who are in their early 20s, 23, 24 years old, heading into their mid-20s versus 18-year-old, 19-year-old freshmen. We've seen it before with St. Peter's 2 years ago. I picked Kentucky to win. I tweeted it out. I put it on the On the Mark KHMO Facebook page. I thought this year's Kentucky team had enough diversity and some senior leadership. I thought Coach Cal would have learned his lesson with St. Peter's 2 years ago and realizing, hey, when you got a team that's built to win, you cannot take these things lightly. You've got to come in and be ultra prepared. And Coach Cal wasn't ultra prepared. He didn't have his guys ready to go. And, he ran into a buzzkill of a kid named Golke off the bench for Oakland, who's 10 3-pointers. I mean, you kind of ran into the storyline so far. So, I feel like it would have happened to anyone of the 3 seeds that played Oakland. Probably would have ended up in the position that Kentucky did. But Kentucky just had that bad draw, and they weren't prepared for it. They were not prepared for it. And what I mean by Coach Cal's style doesn't fit anymore in the modern NCAA, there are a couple transformative things that have happened to college basketball over the last couple of years. Obviously, the NIL is a huge part of it. Guys can now stay in college. It's different from football. It is. Because in football, there's so many people on the roster. If you're a backup guard, you're not getting NIL money. You're there. If you're a backup guard at USC, you're not sniffing NIL money. You were going to be a 4-year guy anyway and hope to get in a couple games, and maybe by your senior season you earn your spot. You start some games your senior season, and then you go off with your degree and you get into real estate, you raise a family, and you say, hey, I played college ball and it was fun. But in college basketball, it's a very different culture at the top end. The one-and-done culture is still very much alive. It's very much alive. And you have Kentucky who lives in this one-and-done culture because the mega money for college basketball, NIL is good, sure, it's nice, but you're not a 2-3 year starter. In college, you have to be a 2-3 year starter to get that NIL money, to really be worthy of it, right? You're a quarterback, star wide receiver. You have to be there for at least 3 years on campus because the NFL won't let you in. And so you can make a real money. I mean, Caleb Williams made over close to $10 million just last year alone in NIL money. So you can make top end money. But in college basketball, it's a little different because you have some guys like a Caitlin Clark, right? And you have people like a Zach Edey who are going to stick around because Zach Edey knows he's a better college player than he'll ever be an NBA player, right? And he's probably going to make more money in college with the NIL than he will in the NBA because he'll be a late second-round pick, and he'll sit he'll sit on Boston's bench and eat up a couple minutes and eventually flame out of the NBA like a Taco Fall, right? So it's just a different culture. You have teams now in college basketball that are built with seniors, with high-end juniors, and have formed a real team because they're staying for longer because They have no chance of making an NBA roster. And there's, why go play overseas? People would leave and go play overseas for money, but now you're making money in college basketball. It's a real league. It's a real way to support a family, to build up a fund for yourself. And in smaller schools in unique places, you can build up, especially in the teams like the Big East, where they don't even have football in the roster. Like, the money is being spent there. Those guys are getting the local commercial deals and things like that. So the teams are better. The players are no necessarily different, right? The top-end players in the NBA draft are still coming out of Europe, out of schools like Kentucky and Duke, like they always have for the last couple of years. But what's different is you're getting teams that are staying together longer. And you're getting real teams that are growing together. And you have programs like a UConn that's saying, I'm going to maybe go for 4-star guys who are fringe NBA players who I can convince to stay at UConn, take NIL deals because they're not going to make money in the NBA anyways. And I'm going to build a team that for this sport is built to win championships. They're not better players than Kentucky guys. Kentucky guys are going to have better NBA careers. They will go down as better players. They're better one-on-one, better all around. But March and college basketball, it's about the team. Look at the teams that are winning in March Madness so far this weekend of the tournament. I mean, you got guys who are playing team basketball, not as talented. The more talented guys, Kentucky, they're out. But you have team basketball going. So do I think Coach Cal needs to be fired? No, I'm not going to sit here and say Coach Cal needs to be fired. Coach Cal is still putting together awesome rosters for Kentucky. Kentucky is still relevant. They're still talked about. It's hard to win in March, no matter what. And I think that Coach Cal can make, if he's willing to make a couple tweaks and find a couple, spend some money on recruits who are going to stay there, a guard or someone who's going to stay there for 3 or 4 years and not worry about being an NBA star. It'll help him win a little bit more. But I wouldn't be like, you need to fire Coach Cal. I want to spend some time here now moving on to some of the actual games coming on up today and tomorrow. A lot of great games. There are 3 ones that I really have my eye on, right? I mean, I can sit here and talk about every game. UConn, Northwestern, can Northwestern's guards and Dewey, actually make, UConn uncomfortable? We'll see. San Diego State survives against UAB, against the upset, one of the upsets of the tournament, Yale. Duquesne in Illinois. That should be fun. Illinois looks like a team to really be messed with. Iowa State, Washington State. A lot of good matchups. But there are 3 teams I want to talk about, 3 games I want to talk about here that I really have my eye on. Number 1, that is a game today on CBS at 4:30 Central Time. Number 1, North Carolina versus number 9, Michigan State. First and foremost, 2 giant brands, right? Blue Bloods, mega brands. Izzo in Michigan State, January, February, Izzo, and UNC. UNC obviously played in the championship game 2 years ago, disappointing season last year, and now they're a 1 seed. They look great against Wagner. Michigan State really handled Mississippi State wire to wire in a game that a lot of people thought Mississippi State was a dark horse team. Michigan State does it again with Izzo. This one's going to be fun. It's the guards, Walker and Atkins for Michigan State versus Davis and Baycott for North Carolina. The winner of this game is going to pick up a lot of momentum for being the team to maybe, surprise in the Final Four. I guess Michigan State. A lot of people have UNC in the Final Four. I do too. I have UNC winning this game. I think UNC is a really well-rounded team top to bottom. It was hard to judge UNC a little bit because the ACC was down this year. But I think if they can put a beat down on Michigan State that people are really high on right now, it'll establish UNC as a true threat to a UConn on that side of the bracket. Meanwhile, the other games in the West region, Arizona, Grand Canyon versus Alabama. Nice little win for Grand Canyon last night. I like Alabama, though. They can score with the best of them. Clemson, Baylor. Give me Baylor in that game. Arizona versus Dayton. I'll take Arizona. In the East games today, I'll take UConn over Northwestern. San Diego State, I'll take over Yale. Illinois, and I'll roll with Iowa State as well, the chalk there. I want to move on to the South bracket because I don't have the other two games I want to talk about are both in the Midwest. In the South, I'll take Houston over A&M. James Madison looks like a real team. I'm going to take James Madison upset Duke. You watched James Madison against Wisconsin last night. They're a real team. They can shoot. They play team basketball. This team has size, guard play. I think they can upset Duke. NC State, Oakland. I like NC State. Oakland can't. I just don't see Oakland doing it again. NC State's got size. They play team basketball. And Marquette should get by Colorado, the size of Marquette. Utah, Purdue. I'll take Purdue. Purdue, I think, getting through the first round was huge for them. Kansas, Gonzaga. I actually like Kansas in this game. I know they're missing their best player, but I think this is a Gonzaga team that is not nearly as explosive as they've been in the years past. And this Kansas team handling Samford and getting by with that call, I think that's their close call. And I like them to squeak by Gonzaga. That should be a good game. The other two games I want to talk about, I think, are must-watch this weekend, besides UNC Michigan State. If you can only watch 3 games, these would be the 3 games I watch. UNC Michigan State, as I said. The other one would be Oregon Creighton. Oregon and Steve Alford, their coach, I think he might be one of the underrated best coaches in college basketball. He's 8-0 his last first round games. I mean, the dude just knows how to play in March, coach in March. Cuisinart and Dante, they have a guard who's on fire right now. They have a big who can hit his free throws, who is dominant down low in the paint. They match up well against the size of Kalkbrenner and Creighton. So it's going to be the guards of Shireman and Cuisinart versus the bigs of Kalkbrenner and Dante. Don't count out Oregon. Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament. They are playing really great basketball right now. They're hot. I'll take Oregon in an upset over Creighton. Creighton, when I filled out my bracket, I had Creighton winning this game. After watching the first round, I did have Oregon beating South Carolina. I knew Oregon would stay hot. I just didn't think Oregon would look that good wire to wire. Cuisinart putting up a 40-burger. Dante locked in. And you forget the big man can hit his free throws. I think Oregon could go on a real Cinderella run here. Keep your eye out for the Ducks to take down Creighton in what should be a really great matchup. I don't see that game being a blowout either way. I think it's a real fun one. And then finally, I think it's the best matchup, the best storylines of the start of round 2 and of round 2 in general. Number 2, Tennessee and Rick Barnes versus his former team, the University of Texas. UT versus UT, Burnt Orange versus Rocky Top Orange, and Disu and Abmas for Texas versus Connect, the electric player for Tennessee. I really love Texas in this game. I mean, Rick Barnes has always struggled to make it to Sweet 16s. He was a great regular season coach, but struggles in the tournament. It's why Texas moved off him. I think Texas, the pressure for Rick Barnes and his Tennessee squad playing against Texas, his old team, Disu and Abmas, they played. Listen, they did not score well against Colorado State. I think they got sloppy. They were in a rock fight, and they survived it. I think that bodes well for Texas to be able to kind of play it with house money, let the offense flow. Disu, I think, is going to have himself a big game against the front court of Tennessee. That will be the must-watch game. If you told me I could watch one game this weekend, it'd be Tennessee-Texas. Probably then Oregon, Creighton 2, number 3, UNC, Michigan State. Beyond that, probably if I had to pick a fourth game, gosh, I don't know. But maybe James Madison and Duke. I think James Madison could upset Duke. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to gamble on March Madness with me, follow me on Twitter /X at Mark Hespen, MarkHespen. I'll tweet out my picks. I could tell you already, I have Kansas in a money line win over Gonzaga. I have Texas in a money line win over Tennessee. and I have a parlay today, and I like this one. I'll tweet it out. Michigan State plus 3.5 against UNC. I think they keep it close, but UNC squeaks by in like a 1 or 2 point win. NC State moneyline over Oakland and Oregon moneyline over Creighton in a parlay. I got that at plus 619 on FanDuel. Shout out FanDuel Sportsbook. When we going to take a break, when we come back, we will address Justin Fields, Chicago Bears, the trade. It happened last Saturday after our show. I did address it a little bit on our YouTube channel, but I'll address it here on the actual show when we come back next. It's On the Mark, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. We're live and local on America's News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
I'm blessed. After I lost my mom, I was depressed and resentful. I couldn't find my way, but I am not lost.
That's right. I'm Tiffany. I work in behavioral health for youth advocate programs. Yeah, I empower Blessing with tools so she can see her strengths and set positive goals.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
No, she's a good student and a great kid. As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
We need YAP. The youth, they need strong support systems. I try to help the youth understand if you have a change of mindset, you can have a change of action.
YAP gives communities alternatives to residential care, youth incarceration, and neighborhood violence. After completing our program, nearly 90% of participants remain in their community. YAP works.
And now I'm finding my way and excited about my future.
Youth Advocate Programs. Others talk social change. We make it happen. Learn more at yapinc.org.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by the good people at Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. When you talk about Kunis Honda Hyundai, the unique thing that they do is they're more than just Honda Hyundai. You go to Kunis Honda Hyundai if you want to buy yourself a new Jeep. Go to Kunis Honda Hyundai if you want to buy yourself a new Ram. Go to Kunis Honda Hyundai if you want to buy yourself a brand new Toyota. I'm telling you, just try it out. Trust me. Trust me when I say, stop by 221 North 36th Street in Quincy and ask them, hey, I know you're Kunis Honda Hyundai, but I really want to buy a brand new GMC. See what they can do for you. It's special. It's really special what they got going on at Kunis Honda Hyundai. All right, welcome on back to On the Mark, episode 228 on this Saturday, March 23rd. Let's jump into it. Hespin headline number 2. The Chicago Bears are going to have a new quarterback.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
So last week, a week ago right now, I was talking about the Chicago Bears quarterback situation, and I had said, I was surprised that a week into free agency, the Bears hadn't made a move yet. It felt like if they were going to move off Justin Fields, it would have been early in free agency. And so my gut was leaning towards they're going to keep him closer to the draft and kind of play it all out. 7 hours later, I'm at dinner on Saturday night last night, and all of a sudden the news breaks. Justin Fields traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for next year's 6 that could turn into a 4. So let's start with the fact that the Bears moved off of Justin Fields. When it comes down to it, it is absolutely factual that Justin Fields had a raw deal during his 3 years in Chicago. He was drafted by Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy as a kind of Hail Mary to try to save their careers in Chicago after they were losing the locker room and losing games. He was forced in to start, and it was very obvious the coaching staff did not really have a plan on how to effectively use the rookie quarterback. And he was bad. He was really bad. In comes Ryan Poles and a new staff, a new coaching staff, a defensive coaching staff with an offensive coordinator in Luke Getsy, who runs a system that you'd want a quarterback like Gardner Minshew, who he's got now in Oakland. A quarterback like, I don't know, Brock Purdy, his tree is the Kyle Shanahan tree. And we saw when Kyle Shanahan tried to make Trey Lance work, it didn't work. And what does Ryan Poles do? Well, Ryan Poles' job is not to make life awesome for Justin Fields. Ryan Poles' job as the GM is to come in and rebuild this franchise. Ryan Poles' job is to figure out how to make the Chicago Bears a+ winning organization for years to come. And by doing that, what does he do? He strips the organization down his first year. And the Bears end up with the number 1 overall pick. Ryan Poles does right by Justin Fields and says, hey, I look at C.J. Stroud, I look at Bryce Young, I look at Will Levis, I look at Richardson. I like you more than those guys. I do. And I also really like that the team in Carolina is going to give us an A+ player in DJ Moore and a bunch of picks to help us reset this organization. And so Ryan Poles, going into then last year, says to Justin, hey, here are the keys. I got you DJ Moore. You have Cole Kmet. We brought in Martellus, Bennett. We brought in, rookie offensive lineman to help the offensive line. The defense struggled, not great early in, but then we brought in Montez Sweat. We're trying to put the pieces of this team together, and the keys are yours. Unfortunately for Justin Fields, a couple things happened. He did not play well enough when he played. He did not have enough help. He wasn't able to stay healthy. Again, 3 years, 3 injuries where he missed time. And the biggest unfortunate thing for Justin Fields, the Carolina Panthers absolutely were a dumpster fire. I said it before and I'll say it again. If the Chicago Bears did not have the number 1 pick, if that Panthers pick was 8 and the Bears pick was 9, Justin Fields would still be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. He would. Now, there would be talks of the Bears maybe trying to trade up depending on the situation. But he would still absolutely be the quarterback right now. I feel that in my bones of the Chicago Bears. But unfortunately for Justin, he was drafted by a regime that did not know how to use him and was a Hail Mary. And then he had to try to win over a regime that also had to try to build this franchise up from the ground up. And they've done that. The Chicago Bears are now in a really solid spot. Unfortunately for the Bears, the Lions and the Packers are also in a really solid spot. But all you can do is worry about yourself. And Ryan Poles has done a tremendous job of building this Bears organization back to where they are in a extremely, extremely strong position. Strong as they've been in the post-Lovey era. This is the strongest the Bears have been stability-wise, player-wise, all the timing of the players kind of working out together. And now they look at this quarterback draft, and I think they look at it and they say, we can find the guy to grow with this group at this time. And that's where then Justin Fields is looked at as a player they move off of. Now, a lot of people were frustrated, but they didn't get enough for Justin Fields. First off, I think Ryan Poles feels the way I feel. That 6th rounder they got next year, it's going to be a 4th rounder. I think I feel very strongly that Justin Fields will have more playing time than Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh next year. And that's what that pick is predicated on. I think that's going to be a 4th rounder next year. And also, you don't have to get something for everything you have. If you wanted to maximize Justin Fields, it's like when you buy a new car. As soon as you take the new car off the lot, depreciating value. You want to get the most for Justin Fields? Well, you should have traded him right after you drafted him. And if you wanted to get the most from him after playing, it would have been trade him after last year when they ran the ball a ton and he looked like, he could really be Lamar Jackson 2.0. And the contract was still then really workable. But, I don't get mad like you didn't get enough for him. You got something, and you also are giving your organization clarity. And that is really, really a strong thing for you to do. as good leaders do that. They give their organization clarity. I'm rooting for Justin Fields. I think he's going to start more games in Pittsburgh next year than Russ. I think he could have a really nice career in Pittsburgh. I do. And I think what the Chicago Bears need to do right now, and I'll tell you, and I said this on the video on Wednesday, but I'll reiterate it here. And as always, you can find all those videos on my YouTube channel at Mark Hespin. The Chicago Bears must commit to Caleb Williams ASAP. If I was the Chicago Bears, I would commit to him. I would announce it to the world. He's going to be the number one pick. Once you've done your due diligence and you know, commit ASAP. And here's the reason why. As a franchise, there are some fringe people out there in the media who say, no. Drake May, better than Caleb Williams. No. I like that Jaden Daniels better than Caleb Williams. But for the majority of the trusted sources who do the draft analysis, who watch the film, myself included of just my own eyes, Caleb Williams is the guy in this draft that looks like the guy that is the number one pick. Heisman Trophy winner, and the first person coming out of college where you can truly say, holy smokes, that looks like Patrick Mahomes. That looks like Patrick Mahomes. That's natural talent. That's raw ability. And that is a person whose game translates to the modern 2024 NFL. And the quarterbacks whose game translate the most to the modern 2024 NFL right now are who? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Guys, you look and you go, okay, they got wiggle. Look at that. Look out. They can run. But are also extremely efficient from the pocket. Extremely efficient from the pocket. Not a freak athlete, right? I mean, a lot of people, Drake May, look at Drake May. He reminds me of Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. Aren't Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence going into kind of big prove-it years? They got to really prove it. I'm just saying, I think Drake May is going to be a fine NFL quarterback. I really do. But if you're the Chicago Bears and you pass on Caleb Williams and you try to outsmart the room and you go, no, we're going with Drake May, number one overall, and Caleb Williams ends up being successful somewhere else, more successful than Drake May, I don't know how the franchise could ever recover from that. The franchise will never be set up to succeed this much again. Now, if you draft Caleb Williams number one overall and he's a bust and he can't play, he's a bust, he can't play. You know, that's the NFL. It's the way it works. It's just the way it works. There's no perfect science to it. But the best way to go about it is to commit to the guy who looks like the number one pick, who feels like the number one pick, whose tape looks like the generational tape. He's got the Heisman Trophy. He looks like Patrick Mahomes. And I truly believe at this point in time, the Bears, they owe it to themselves, and they owe it as a franchise to try this, to say, no, we're not going to outsmart the room. We're going to go get the guy that 9 teams out of 10 would draft number one overall if they needed a quarterback. And we're not going to outsmart the room. We're going to go with the guy that everyone says is the next generational guy. And if he doesn't work, he doesn't work. One thing, someone was saying, like, well, what if he's a bust? And I was like, would I rather be the Chicago Bears right now or the Atlanta Falcons? The Atlanta Falcons just gave 4 years to Kirk Cousins, right? After Desmond Ridder and trying to patchwork it with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke and Marcus Mariota, and before that, sticking with a Matt Ryan for way too long. Or would I rather be the Chicago Bears, who they traded, they made a bold move for Jay Cutler, and they tried to make it work for a long time. It didn't. And then what have they done since Cutler? They just drafted quarterbacks. Draft Mitch, didn't work. Draft Justin, didn't work. Draft Caleb, hopefully it works. That's what you got to do in the NFL. That's what you got to do. You just got to keep drafting quarterbacks. One of them will work. Eventually it'll work. If Caleb doesn't work, in 3 years from now, they'll draft another quarterback. That's what you got to do. I want Caleb to work. I need Caleb to work for my psyche. But if it doesn't work, draft another quarterback. That's what you do. That's the way the NFL works. That's the game. That's the game, right? So I think that's a better way to go about it than the patchwork Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, and now we're going to pay Kirk Cousins a ton of money. Right? So it's not perfect. It's not a perfect science. But Caleb Williams is to me, I'd commit to him. I want my locker room to start buying into Caleb. I want DJ Moore and to go do secret workouts with Caleb. I want him to start just wearing Bears gear and just openly talking about his excitement to come to Chicago. I wanted to just get it done. Get it done. I don't want to deal with, for the next month, well, look out. I think the Bears might be talking to Jaden Daniels. Oh, I don't need any of that. I don't need DJ Moore going on a podcast being like, I don't know, they're not telling me nothing, blah, blah, blah. Commit. Let's go. Let's go all in. All in. And I'm going to embrace the heck out of him. Do I still, and people have already thrown this in my face, like, Mark, weren't you the guy who said you want the Hall? Well, duh. I've never shied away from the bet. I said this all season long with the Bears. The best case scenario was that Justin Fields played so well that it was obvious you were going to keep him. Because the Hall, like we saw what you got for the Hall for the last time you traded the number one pick, completely changed your franchise. But Justin Fields didn't play well enough, didn't stay healthy enough, and I'm sorry, unfortunate for Justin, the number one pick fell into our laps because the Panthers are a disaster. And Caleb does look that good. He looks that good. Also, for my own health as a Bears fan, I don't know how if the Bears end up drafting Drake May and then Washington gets Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams goes on to lead the Commanders to the playoffs and Drake May goes 4-13 and has more picks than interceptions. You might have to the Bears might have to move to London and change their name. That would be, if you told me my options were draft Caleb Williams and risk that he's a bust, or draft another guy and risk Caleb Williams becoming Patrick Mahomes 2.0, I can't handle Caleb Williams becoming Patrick Mahomes 2.0 somewhere else. If he's not Patrick Mahomes 2.0, then he better be doing it in a Bears jersey. And then I say, all right, well, just draft another guy in 3 years. Fine with me. Fine with me. Draft another guy. I'll keep this train rolling. Draft another guy. But I cannot, for the next 10 years, watch Caleb Williams go win a Super Bowl in someone else's jersey, and I'm still drafting and trying to find a guy. Because I already live with that with Patrick Mahomes. I live with the fact that my management, my GM, traded up for Mitch Trubisky and looked at Patrick Mahomes and thought, nah, that guy doesn't work. Traded up. So I can't live with that again. I can't as a fan. I can't live with that again. Give me Caleb. I ride or die. When we come back, the MLB has got a story on their hands and not good. And also they just can't figure out the calendar. We'll get into that next. We're live and local in America's News Talk 1070 KHMO. The KHMO app brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. It's on the mark.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, From sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
Happy kids heal faster. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids, regardless of their illness or injury. When a child is hospitalized, the happiness of childhood feels out of reach. But that's where Starlight comes in. We provide entertainment through our gaming stations, comfort with our specially designed hospital gowns, play with our toy deliveries, and distraction through our virtual reality headsets. Starlight programs are what happiness is made of. The things that make being a kid special. The simple power of a smile, delivered to over 800 hospitals across the country, can make a lifetime of difference for sick kids. Learn more at starlight.org.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. High temperatures reach up to 50 today under mainly sunny skies. Winds out of the northeast, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for isolated showers tonight. Lows level off around 35. Cloudy skies expected. Currently 34.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and KHMO app. It's March Madness going over at Cunis Honda Hyundai, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Now is the time to get yourself into a new or used vehicle with that lifetime powertrain warranty. Stop by the dealership. Tell them Mark sent you. We are brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. It's episode 228 of On the Mark. Hit me up on all social media, YouTube, Twitter/X, Instagram, at Mark Hespin. Follow the show On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Shohei Ohtani gambling. I don't want to speculate too much. I will say this about the Shohei Ohtani gambling story. If he gambled on Major League Baseball, baseball has to do something. And it has to be swift, and it has to be harsh. And the last time we saw someone gamble on Major League Baseball, we know what happened. And we learned about it. Pete Rose, banned for life. If it's gambled on baseball, if I was the MLB, I'd kick him out of the MLB. I'd void his contract. And I think Shohei Ohtani would go back over to Japan, play baseball in Japan, and we'd all wonder the what ifs of life. But I think baseball would have to send that strong of a message. He'd have to be banned. If he didn't gamble on baseball, if it was just the dude spends a lot of money gambling on Japanese baseball or he loves college football, I don't know. Then you slap him on the wrist, you say, come on, lock it up. Maybe a little bit of a suspension, but you try to rush it under the rug and you move on. That's where I'm at. I don't care. All I need to know from the rest of the story is, was Shohei Ohtani and his money gambling on Major League Baseball? That's it. The bigger problem with baseball is they are run by a bunch of idiots. How in God's name does Major League Baseball, how in the Lord's name does Major League Baseball start their season with the biggest brand, the LA Dodgers, and the biggest player, Shohei Ohtani, against a very good San Diego Padres team at 6 a.m, local Central Time, in Korea during March Madness? I thought that was a preseason game. I had no idea. I host a sports show. I like baseball. I had no idea that was happening. They are run by idiots. Oh, and guess what? Here's the thing. Big opening day baseball Thursday this week. You got to watch baseball on Thursday this week. Well, guess what's happening Thursday this week? The Sweet 16. Idiots. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There is nothing in the sports calendar. There's NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and nothing. Nothing. And the MLB says, I know. Let's start our season on Thursday during the Sweet 16. Wrapping up the show next. On the Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think. Stargardt disease was supposed to define me.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down.
A blinding eye disease attempted to force me away from doing what I was born to do.
But it cannot stop me. I have the tools.
I will keep moving forward.
Pushing past the limits of this disability.
I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Loss of sight won't blind our vision. Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is often laced into illicit drugs and used to make fake versions of prescription pills. You can't see it, taste it, or smell it. Suppliers mix fentanyl into their products because it's potent and cheap, and the dealer might not even know. Keep yourself and others safe by knowing the real deal on fentanyl. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. The thing that sets Kunis Honda Hyundai apart is that lifetime, no-fear powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. You just got to stop by the dealership and tell them, hey, Mark sent me. 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. All right, my final story I want to talk about here within the last 3 minutes. Over the next month, as long as the Chicago Bears don't start going crazy and blowing smoke and are, bringing 40 people to Drake May and Jane Daniels and doing all this stuff and asking, saying they're going to trade the number one pick. The number one story in the NFL will be, what do the Cardinals do? The Cardinals are at 4 in the NFL draft. They are going to be the hot button thing. They'll talk about it every morning on Get Up. Colin Cowherd is going to talk about it. Dan Patrick's going to talk about it. All of the networks are going to talk about the Cardinals, because they're fascinating. So I'm just warning you now. You're going to hear nothing but Arizona Cardinals talk, because they need a wide receiver. They need a Marvin Harrison Jr., a Malik Neighbors, a Rome Odunze. They're at 4. Right now, the draft projects to go quarterback, 1, 2, 3. At 4 is where, Austin, you're absolutely right, the Cardinals are going to be sitting there. And if you are the Vikings, Denver, the Raiders, maybe a Seattle, a couple other teams who are keeping your eye on, man, I really like J.J. McCarthy and I don't want him to slip away. Or if New England or Washington surprises someone and they go J.J. and all of a sudden, Drake May is sitting there at 4, something like that. If that's the case, the Cardinals have a really tough decision to make, because the Cardinals are not just a player away. They are a couple players away. But do you pass on the chance to take a generational wide receiver to pair up with your quarterback who you're paying a ton of money to get more picks, and you let then a Minnesota come get a J.J. McCarthy? Or do you just stay there and you take Marvin Harrison Jr.? That's going to be the fascinating storyline to watch and to debate over the next month. So I'm just warning you now. We'll have a more deep dive on how all that shakes out. I think we're going to see some movement in the draft here in the coming weeks. I think you're going to see some trades happening. People are impressed by JJ. I'm still not 100% sold on JJ, as it certainly is a top 5 pick. I think that's very, very rich. We'll see. Enjoy it. This weekend's an awesome weekend. Enjoy it. Getting down to the Sweet 16. I like Kansas over Gonzaga. I like Texas over Tennessee. Michigan State plus 3.5. I think they lose close. And then Oregon upsetting Creighton too. Follow me on X at Mark Hespin. We'll talk it all day long. Enjoy it. See you next week.